Two women in dust-caked sneakers reached the truck stoplights like shipwreck survivors. The older lifted her chin. "We've been walking for 3 days. Please, just one night," she said. Helmets turned. The hellsangels at Pump 3 went silent until their road captain killed his engine and said, "You picked the right night. Before we start the story, tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? And if you enjoy our stories, please consider subscribing to our channel. It'll help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers and keep sharing more inspiring content with you." The sign over the diner cracked like lightning every few seconds. Cinders. Beyond it, desert rolled forever, a black ocean with no boats. Rhea Calder, 24, kept her little sister Ivy behind her, a single palm steady at the girl's elbow. Every step had become a prayer said with ankles. Inside the circle of sodium light, 6 bikes gleamed, low, mean, rode hard. On the tank of the closest, a death head stared back. Cold gravel Maddox swung a boot to the ground. His patch read hellsangels, red hollow. Tattoos flowed down both arms like maps to places he'd survived. "Water first," he said, voice even. Their hands shook as he passed bottles. Ivy sipped like it might run away. Rhea's lips cracked, but she refused to gulp. Pride still lived somewhere beneath the dust. "Who sent you walking?" Gravel asked. Rhea stared at her shoes. "A man who said kindness had conditions." The line of bikers shifted, weight rolling to heels, the kind of anger that doesn't talk, it plans. Lark, the charter's medic, knelt without asking, eyes kind behind road-grimed liner. "Any dizziness?" Blurred vision. Rhea flinched when fingers neared the bruising under her sleeve, then breathed, "I'm okay." "She's not." Ivy's feet were blistered through sock and skin. Lark swore softly, warmth and fury braided. Gravel scanned the lot. Bishop watched the highway. Cade slid a tire iron beneath his jacket. Rooster filmed plates from the far pumps, casual as stretching. "Inside," Gravel said. "Food's hot." In the diner, the night waitress blinked at the patches, then at the girls, and something in her face softened. Bowls appeared, chili that smelled like memory, grilled cheese that broke into clean halves. Rhea ate slow, listening for the sound of boots that had chased them since sunup. Gravel stirred coffee until steam framed his scar. "Tell it straight," he said. Rhea swallowed. "Deacon Mallory. He runs a ministry house outside Ash Bluff. Said we could work for a bed. He locked doors. Took phones. When I said no, he locked the gate behind us instead." Silence turned thick. Neon hummed like an insect trapped in glass. Gravel didn't look at his brothers. He didn't need to. They knew the wave when it rose. Lark's jaw clenched. "How many girls?" Rhea counted like stitches. 7 last week. 9, maybe. Bishop spread a paper placemat flat, sketching quickly, drive-in chain-link side door by a rusted propane tank. "Any cameras?" "One by the office." "It's fake. The real ones look like birdhouses," Ivy whispered, surprising her own courage. Rooster grinned despite himself. "Smart kid!" Rhea's eyes glassed at that word, kid. She didn't get to be one much. Gravel tapped the sketch once. "We end this." The waitress slid a pie across with a conspirator's hush. "On me," she said. "My sister came home from there different." Gravel lifted his chin to the window. A dust plume braided up the highway. Old Suburban, badly lifted. Lark's voice went low. "We didn't beat the news." Headlights swung into the lot. The Suburban idled like a grudge. 4 men unfolded from the doors in church coats that hid fists. The first man smiled without his eyes. "Evening, gentlemen, ladies. Pastor sent us to bring those girls home." The way he said home sounded like a cage. Gravel didn't stand. He let the stillness do the math. "They're eating." The man's smile thinned. "You're trespassing on the Lord's work." Lark rose, small, unafraid. "Pretty sure the Lord's work doesn't blister a kid's feet." Bishop set a quarter on the counter. Silent cue. Rooster slipped outside, closing the glass like a sigh. Cade drifted right, a statue deciding to move. Rhea reached for Ivy's hand under the table. Ivy squeezed back. The man leaned in until his breath touched Gravel's coffee. "You're going to regret this." Gravel finally stood. The room reorganized around his height. "Write it down," he said, voice sandpaper smooth. "Then go." The men fanned, trying to box the girls with their coats. That was a mistake. The door chimed. Rooster re-entered, holding a set of keys and a phone he hadn't had before. "Suburban's registration says Mallory," he said, "and his camera roll is crimes." The men lunged at Rooster, telegraphing rage instead of thought. Bishop intercepted the first with a palm to chest that moved him 2 stools backward without breaking a sugar packet. Cade trapped another's wrist and set it softly on the counter like a hummingbird, except hummingbirds don't yelp. Gravel didn't touch anyone. He just stared at the one with the smile until it melted off his face. "Sit," Gravel said. It sounded like gravity. They sat, lock-dialed. "State tip line. Human trafficking. I'll hold." The waitress locked the door and flipped the sign, "Closed for cleaning." Rhea looked at Gravel like he'd done a magic trick, but he shook his head. "We didn't save you," he said. "You walked 3 days. We're just the ride you found." Outside, desert wind pressed its ear to the glass. Ivy studied the pie like a sunrise. Rhea whispered, "What happens now?" Gravel turned to the map Bishop had drawn. Now he said, calm as a loaded truck, "We go get the rest, clean, legal, loud. And Mallory learns what mercy with teeth feels like." By dawn, the Red Hollow Charter rolled east, 7 bikes, chrome waking the horizon. The highway shimmered in heat ghosts. Behind them, Rhea and Ivy rode in the support van with Lark, wrapped in borrowed hoodies. Gravel led point, eyes hidden behind scratched aviators, mind on the coordinates Bishop fed through his headset. Ash Bluff appeared in the distance, a town of faded prayers, sun-peeled billboards, 1 diner, 1 gas station, 1 preacher's mansion pretending to be humble. They parked 2 miles out beside a junkyard where silence lived. Gravel dismounted, boots sinking into dust. "No weapons drawn unless it's last," he said. Bishop nodded, checking his vest pocket. Inside, a GoPro already rolling. Lark passed out body cams small as dimes. "We'll use light this time," he said. Rhea stepped from the van. "You don't have to—" Gravel cut her off. "We already are." She met his gaze. "Then let me come." He studied her face, saw the fracture lines between fear and resolve, then nodded once. "Stay close. You know the rooms. You show us ghosts. We'll open the doors." The compound looked like faith painted over rot. A cross towered over the main gate, but the paint dripped rust red. "Ministry of Renewal," the sign read, letters peeling like lies. Gravel approached first, helmet under one arm. 2 men guarded the gate, pretending calm. "Morning, brothers," Gravel said, smiling the way storms do before they break. "We're looking for Pastor Mallory." "Not taking visitors," one said. Gravel's tone stayed light. "Good, we're not visiting." Behind him the angels fanned in slow symmetry, engines rumbling like an argument waiting for proof. The guard's hand twitched toward his belt, but Bishop's phone chimed. "State troopers say they'll arrive in 20, he murmured. Gravel's smile held. "Then we'll keep 'em company." He stepped forward until his shadow crossed the man's boots. "You want to explain why you're holding girls in trailers, or you want me to read it to you?" The man faltered, eyes darting past Gravel, to Rhea, to Ivy watching from the van, and something in him cracked. "Backlot," he muttered. Behind the chapel, Gravel turned. "Appreciate the guidance, preacher." They found them in the trailers, 9 girls, blankets for doors, air sour with fear. One clutched a Bible like armor. Another blinked at the sunlight, whispering, "Is it real?" Lark knelt, gentle hands checking pulses, giving water, murmuring names into existence again. "You're free, sweetheart," he said. Rhea stepped inside the nearest trailer. Her eyes met a face she knew, Lydia, 17, the one who used to hum at night to stay awake. "You came back," Lydia whispered, disbelief trembling. "You came back for us." Rhea's voice broke. "Not alone." Outside, Gravel's radio hissed static. Bishop caught movement by the chapel. Mallory himself, all pressed collar and counterfeit grace, marching toward them with 2 deputies in tow. "You have no right," he began. Gravel's voice sliced through. "We have every right to stop rot," Mallory sneered. "You think a gang can play God?" "No," Gravel said, "but I think God's tired of your show." Sirens wailed far off, law arriving slower than justice. The bikers stood between the girls and the preacher as the first state cruiser hit the dust cloud. When the troopers took statements, the desert wind turned kind for once. Rhea sat on a cooler, Ivy asleep against her side. Mallory screamed about slander until cuffs bit his wrists. "You'll regret this." "You're all devils," he roared. Gravel lit a cigarette. "Then the devil finally did something right," he said. The trooper nearest hid a grin. Bishop handed over camera footage, time-stamped clean. Lark loaded the girls into medical vans, his voice soft as gauze. When the last door closed, silence hovered, heavy but holy. Rhea walked over to Gravel. "I don't know how to thank you." He looked past her to the empty road. Just don't become small again." She nodded, tears tracing the dust on her cheeks. He pulled something from his vest, a small silver patch, wings spread wide, edges frayed. "You earned this." She turned it over. "It wasn't a badge. It was belief shaped like metal." "What's it mean?" she asked. Gravel exhaled smoke slow. "It means you walked through hell, and we saw you." They left Ash Bluff at sunset. The sky bled orange behind the ridges, the color of endings and new names. The girls watched from the vans, faces pressed to glass, as the hellsangels thundered beside them like guardians made of noise and light. At the county line, Gravel slowed, signaling a halt. Dust spiraled around them. Rhea stepped out, wind tugging her borrowed jacket. "Where do you go now?" she asked. Gravel shrugged. "Where trouble forgets who it belongs to." "And me?" she said quietly. He tilted his head. "You start over. Maybe open something small, something honest." Lark tossed her a folded paper, contact for a women's shelter the club funded quietly. Rhea smiled for the first time without apology. "You'll never know what this means." Gravel looked toward the desert. "Maybe I do." Engines roared again, fading into the night. The neon at the horizon blinked, cinders. 3 days ago it was salvation. Tonight it was just a diner with light enough for hope to walk through. Cinder's diner sat at the crossroads where stories either died or were reborn. The neon buzzed like an old heartbeat, flickering against chrome and dust. Inside, the booth smelled of coffee and road miles. Rhea sat by the window, a paper cup between her palms, watching the dark where the Hell's Angels had disappeared. Her reflection looked foreign. No bruises, no sackcloth, just her. The waitress, a redhead with tired kindness, slid her a plate of fries. "On the house," she said. "Those boys don't talk much, but they pay for more than they order." Rhea smiled faintly. Outside, the road hummed with passing semis, headlights sweeping the empty parking lot like searchlights for ghosts. In the corner booth, an old trucker muttered, "Angels rode through tonight." Must mean trouble past. Rhea didn't answer, but her chest loosened a little. For the first time in years, silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. She reached into her pocket and brushed the silver patch. The metal was warm from her skin. It still felt like protection. 2 towns over, the red hollow charter regrouped under the flicker of a streetlight. Gravel leaned against his bike, helmet tucked under his arm. The others waited, the quiet kind that follows storms. You think they'll press charges? Bishop asked. Gravel shook his head. Mallory's finished. Too many witnesses. Lark kicked at a rock. And the girls? County's got 'em. Safe house by the lake, Gravel said. He stared down the road, eyes distant. But it's not over. Preachers like him don't work alone. Bishop frowned. You think there's more? Always is, Gravel said. Rot spreads quiet. He straightened, glancing at the others. We ride home slow. No headlines. No bragging. Bishop nodded. Just the way we like it. The engines came alive, low thunder rolling through the night. For a moment the wind shifted, carrying laughter from miles away. Rhea's voice, maybe, soft as memory. Gravel didn't smile, but something in his jaw eased. The road curved east, swallowing them one by one, until only tail lights marked the proof they'd ever been there. Days later, Rhea stood outside a small brick shelter with "Second Sunrise" painted over the door. Inside, children's voices spilled down the hallway. Laughter, crayons against paper, the sound of life returning. She'd spent 3 days there, helping cook, fold blankets, sweep the porch. It wasn't much, but it felt like ground. Sister May, the shelter director, leaned against the doorway. You sure you're ready to stay? Rhea nodded. It's quiet here. The older woman smiled. Quiet can be healing. Rhea touched the patch again. It can also be lonely. Sister May studied her. Those bikers, they scared half the county, but I've never seen men protect strangers like that. Rhea's voice softened. They weren't strangers. She looked toward the road, where a single tire mark still cut through the dust. They found me when no one else looked. Sister May nodded slowly. Then maybe you return the favor, find the ones no one's looking for. Rhea smiled, the kind that didn't hurt anymore. Yeah, she whispered. That's the plan. The following week, word spread, and quietly, almost reverently. The angels who stopped a preacher, folks whispered. No one said their names, just the ones who came when the law didn't. Bishop read it off a blog in the clubhouse, laughter shaking his shoulders. Hero bikers, he muttered. They don't know us at all, Gravel smirked. Good, keep it that way. Lark tossed him a rag. You still thinking about her? Gravel didn't answer. He just stared at the horizon, where heat blurred the desert into waves. She'll be all right, Lark said. Women like that, they make the world shift a little. Gravel nodded once, slow. Yeah, maybe she already did. The jukebox hummed in the corner, low and rough, and the men raised bottles in silent toast, not for glory, not for victory, but for every broken person who'd walked into the light, still shaking but standing. Outside, wind stirred the dust, the club's flag snapping once like thunder before calm returned to the valley. That night, Rhea sat on the shelter's porch with a cup of tea cooling beside her. The stars hung low, old and watchful. She opened a notebook and began to write, her hands slow, deliberate. Each line was a promise to remember, the road, the roar, the man who never asked her name but saw her anyway. To Gravel, she wrote, the one who didn't fix me just waited until I fixed myself. Her eyes misted, but the tears didn't sting anymore. She drew a small set of wings beside his name, silver ink catching the lamplight. From the highway a faint rumble grew, distant engines fading north. She closed the notebook and whispered into the dark, "Ride safe." Inside, laughter echoed from the sleeping quarters. Kids playing cards, a woman singing off-key. Rhea smiled. She wasn't running now. She was building. The wind carried the faint scent of motor oil and rain. She knew what it meant. Angels never said goodbye. They just rode on. 3 months later, a storm rolled through Red Hollow. Thunder, wind, and rain that blurred the streets into mirrors. Gravel parked his Harley outside the diner, water dripping from his jacket as he walked in. The bell over the door jingled once. Inside, the smell of coffee and wet leather hung thick. Bishop waved from a booth. "You see the news?" he asked, sliding over a newspaper. On the front page, local shelter expands with help from anonymous donor. The photo showed Rhea standing beside a sign that read, Second Sunrise Rehabilitation Center. Her hair shorter now, her eyes bright. Gravel didn't smile, but the corner of his mouth twitched. "She did it," Bishop said. Gravel nodded. "Told you she would." Outside, lightning split the sky, its reflection cutting across the glass like a promise kept. Gravel folded the paper once, slid it into his jacket, and finished his coffee. The storm didn't bother him. Some storms, he'd learned, weren't meant to break things. They were meant to wash the past clean. Rhea stood at the edge of the shelter's garden, watching the kids plant marigolds in the soft soil. Each flower was a bright defiance against everything grey. Sister May joined her, umbrella tilted against the drizzle. "You filled this place up," she said. Rhea laughed quietly. "Feels more like it filled me." The sound of engines drifted faintly from the highway, that low, rolling hum she would always recognize. She turned, half expecting to see them, but there was only the open road, slick with rain. "You still thinking about them?" Sister May asked. Rhea nodded. "They were the first to call me something I believed. Survivor, not victim." She brushed mud off her hands and added, "If they ever come through again, I'll make 'em dinner." "Proper food, not diner fries." Sister May smiled. "You think they'll come?" Rhea's eyes softened. "They don't need to. They already left me everything I needed. Courage and a road worth walking." Late one afternoon, the Red Hollow Charter rolled through a quiet stretch of mountain road. The sun hit the chrome, painting everything gold. Bishop's radio crackled with static, then a voice, a woman's, soft but certain, from a local station. "This is Rhea Holt from Second Sunrise," she said. "We're opening another shelter near the border. To anyone lost, you're not too far gone. Someone's waiting." Gravel slowed, listening. The road bent west, the sound fading with distance, but the words stayed. He glanced at the others. "You hear that?" Bishop nodded, grin breaking through the wind. "She's one of us now." Gravel didn't answer. He just raised 2 fingers off the throttle, a silent salute toward the fading signal. The mountains echoed the hum of engines long after they were gone. A chorus of redemption and noise, carrying proof that sometimes the ones who fall hardest become the reason others stand. Months turned into seasons. The shelter thrived. The bikers kept riding. Their paths never crossed again, not in person, but the connection stayed, a thread of dust and mercy stretching between highways. One night, Gravel parked by a cliff overlooking the valley. The wind carried the smell of rain and exhaust. He pulled the worn newspaper from his jacket, the one with her photograph, and laid it on the rock. "You made it," he murmured. Lightning flickered far away, soft and slow. He took out a pocket knife, carved a small wing symbol into the stone beside him, and whispered, "For the ones still out there." Behind him, the rest of the club waited, engines idling like steady hearts. Gravel put his helmet back on, one last look at the valley, then kicked the Harley alive. The sound filled the dark like a vow, to ride, to protect, to remember. The next morning, Rhea found a package at the shelter gate. No name, no return address, just a single biker patch inside a glass frame. It read, "Second Sunrise, Guardian Chapter." Beneath it, a note in bold handwriting, "Keep building. We'll keep riding." She pressed her hand against the glass, tears slipping down her cheek. The sound of children laughing drifted from inside, and she turned, smiling through it. The framed patch went on the wall beside the shelter's entrance, right above the words painted there months ago, "No one left behind." Outside, thunder rumbled far away, like distant engines on the move. Rhea looked toward the horizon and whispered, "Thank you." The wind caught her voice and carried it down the road to men who didn't ask for praise, who didn't wait for glory, but who showed the world what mercy on two wheels really looked like. If this story found your heart tonight, remember, kindness rides quiet, but it changes everything it touches. Somewhere out there, an engine hums for the broken and the brave. Subscribe Torides of Loyalty, and keep the light burning for the next soul who needs shelter on the ride.